Best house ever. Two little mice once lived in a small red sock in the garden. Frisker, who liked to stay warm, slept in the heel. Her husband, Whisker, a brave little mouse who was very fond of fresh air, slept in the toe. There was a little hole in the toe, just the right size for a mouse's window. Between the two mice there was just enough room for a bag full of sunflower seeds. Frisker and Whisker were always nibbling at the seeds. Before long there was not one seed left in the bag. "We'll have to go shopping," said Frisker. Frisker took her basket and Whisker grabbed his hat, and the two mice set out for the store. Soon after they were gone, a fluffy gray kitten scampered into the garden. "It's nearly winter," the kitten said. "I wish I had a woolen hat to keep my ears warm." Just then she saw the red sock. "The very thing I need," the cat exclaimed. The kitten dug up the sock and dumped out the mice's things. She tied a knot in the toe and pulled the sock over her head. It fit perfectly. The kitten was very happy with her new hat. When the mice came back and saw that their house was gone, Frisker began to cry. "Don't cry," begged Whisker. "I'll find us a better house." He scurried about, sniffing and searching, until he found a little green pocketbook all lined with silk. Frisker stopped crying the moment she saw it. "It'll make a wonderful home," she said. In no time at all, the mice had moved into their new house. It was cozy and warm, but the first time they went out for a walk, a fuzzy yellow duckling came waddling into the garden. "When I have eggs," the duckling thought, "I'm not going to sit on a nest all day like my mother." Then she saw the little green pocketbook. The duckling let out a joyful quack, picked up the purse, and waddled home. When the mice came back and found their greenhouse gone, even Whisker felt like crying, but he was a brave little mouse, so he went off through the grass to search for another house. Before long, he came back and looked very proud. "I found the best one yet. It was a small blue muff. It had velvet on the outside and fur on the inside." The mice curled up into the muff and quickly fell asleep. Soon a puppy ran into the garden. When he saw the velveteen muff, he sniffed at it and smiled. The muff smelled sweetly and mousy, and it felt wonderfully soft. "This will make a fine pillow." The puppy grabbed the muff and shook it. The two mice fell out. "There goes our blue house," whispered Whisker as the red puppy disappeared into the bushes. "I'll find us an even better house," said Whisker. Then he saw the gray kitten. "So that's where our red house went," said Frisker. She started to cry. "Don't cry," said Whisker. "I'll find the best house ever." And off he went to search to the garden. Soon he came scampering back. "I found the best house you ever did see." When Frisker saw the house, she squealed with joy. This was a real house with a chimney and a door and windows with real curtains, and it was a dollhouse that had been left under a rose bush and forgotten. It was just the right size for two little mice. But the house was dusty and needed work. They washed the windows and curtains, swept the floors, and made the beds, and built a tiny fire in the tiny fireplace. Frisker prepared a delicious lunch of pumpkin seed pie and tea. The two little mice had just sat down at their table, all ready to eat, when they heard a loud quacking noise. The fuzzy yellow duckling had seen the house too. She tried to get into the door, but it was locked. Then she tried to get into the upstairs windows, but she couldn't get them open. So she flew onto the roof and tried to squeeze down the chimney. "This is our house," said Frisker angrily. The duckling just laughed, so Whisker blew at the fire and smoke rose up to the chimney. The duckling flew away. "No one is going to take this house from us," said Whisker. The minute lunch was over, the two mice began working again. "Now we'll rake the lawn and paint the shutters," Whisker said. They were working so hard they didn't hear the gray kitten come creeping into the garden. "Run!" cried Whisker. The two little mice scurried into the house. They hid in the dish cupboard just in time. The minute they were inside, the front door opened and the kitten peeped in. The kitten purred happily when she saw all of the table with all of the things that Frisker and Whisker had made. She sat down at the table and gobbled all the pies, cakes, and tarts. This made Whisker so angry. He jumped out, and everything in the cupboard shelf came tumbling down with a loud bang. The noise frightened the kitten, and she ran towards the door, but on the way out she got her paw tangled up in the red sock hanging on the doorknob. Then the door slammed on her tail. Meowing loudly, the kitten freed her tail and ran away. Whisker and Frisker ran to the door and locked it. But soon the puppy came. "Let me in." "Oh no, we won't," cried the mice. "Go away." But the puppy wouldn't go away. He pushed up the window, but when he was about to climb in, the window slipped and fell on his paw. "Serves him right," said Frisker. But eventually Frisker and Whisker set him free. "Thanks," said the puppy. "If anyone bothers you again, just let me know and I'll help you." "Our troubles are over," said Whisker happily. The two mice joined hands and danced around their new house. The little gray kitten was sitting at home in her soft basket, thinking about the delicious lunch. "Maybe I'll go back there," she thought. She put her red stocking and remembered the door slamming on her tail. She decided not to go back. The fuzzy duckling was paddling around her pond, thinking about the house. "It's a lovely house. I would certainly like to live there myself." Then she remembered the smoke and figured the pond was a better place to live. The red puppy stopped in once a week just to make sure that the mice were safe and sound. Whisker and Frisker felt nice, safe, and happy in their new house. Before long, they had 4 baby mice. The baby mice slept in 4 cradles that Whisker had found in the attic. Every night, just before bedtime, Whisker walked through the house, gazing proudly at each room. "I told you I'd find the house that was just right for us," he told Frisker. Frisker smiled at her husband. "This is the best house ever." The end.